We've said all off season this team needs to get younger, faster, and more skilled. Does that mean it's time to break up the identity line? We've got that and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to thank everybody for making Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. And we are now also available on Sirius XM, so check us out under Locked On Islanders on the SXM app. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. So much to talk about on today's show, but first, if you've got something Islanders related on your mind, and we are going to answer a question on today's show, please feel free to send us an email. The email address is lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever it is that's on your mind. You could follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Isles, and you could follow me, Gil Martin, on Twitter at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all the latest Islanders news, notes, and happenings, and that includes trade rumors, hirings, firings, free agency, the draft, anything happening in what should be a very important offseason for the New York Islanders. So a lot going on. And, one question that sort of came into my mind, and I'm always trying to look at different things to talk about regarding the Islanders, and all offseason, and really before then, even before the trade deadline, we've been talking about this team needing to get younger, faster, and more skilled. And one of the things that just sort of came to mind when you look at that is it time to break up the identity line? And, I know a lot of Islander fans are going to say, no, gut reaction. No, love the identity line. I do too. I love all three players on this line. Cizikas, Matt Martin, Cal Clutterbuck. All of them have been really good New York Islanders for a pretty long time, and their contributions have been noteworthy. When we talk about the identity line, even the name, the identity line, means that, this team is, the identity of the team is set by what that line does. They set the tone. They go out there and hustle and hit and forecheck and play a physical style of hockey that makes it more difficult for opponents to play against the Islanders. And when the Islanders went on their two long, playoff runs in 2020 and 2021 and reached the conference final, we talked a lot about the Islanders being a team that is difficult to play against. And the identity line was a big reason for that. But here we are. It's 2023. It's not 2019 or 2021. It's 2023. And by the end of next season, it'll obviously be 2024. And right now, Cizikas is 32. Matt Martin is 34. Cal Clutterbuck is 35. We have seen over the course of the season how many games these guys, with the exception of Clutterbuck, ended up, Clutterbuck and Martin, they played their 81 games. Martin and Cizikas played their 81 games, but Clutterbuck, he missed a lot of time. And essentially only played 49 games, which means he missed 33. And we saw at times over the course of this season, not just once in a while, but fairly frequently, that the identity line was a little slower, had a little more trouble getting the puck out of their own zones, ended up spending a lot of time in the defensive zone, and wasn't able to set the tone the way they had in the past as consistently. There is no question that the identity line right now is starting to slow down. And I'm not saying you get rid of all three of them. But here's the thing. If you want to get younger, faster, and more skilled, there are players out there who very well could be ready, willing, and able to take the place of some of the members of the identity line. So here's today's email question. Hi, Gil. My name is James from upstate New York. Big fan of the show. Thank you, James. I noticed a lot of the conversation lately has been about cap and finding younger and faster talent to sign. So my question is, why don't we give some of these kids from Bridgeport a chance? I, for one, thought that Arno Durando played great for those few games he came up. Crazy hustle. Shot on goal every chance he got and created a couple of penalties. I don't know, but I'd love to see these kids get a shot. What are your thoughts? So, James, again, thank you for the kind words about the show and for the question. And I think this question ties in with what I'm saying about the identity line. I don't want to get rid of all three of them, but I am saying that maybe it is time to give some of the kids a chance. And, if you can trade away one of these three players, maybe free up a little bit of cap space that way, give the line some juice. I think, James, what you said about Arno Durando is definitely accurate. He's not a kid anymore, really, at this stage in his career. I mean, Durando, he's still relatively young. He's 20. He'll be 25 in January. He's 24 now. But, he certainly hustles. He certainly can fill the role. Hudson Fasching, who we've talked about, could play on the third line, could also play on the fourth line. Hustles, positionally sound, physical, like Durando, not afraid to shoot the puck, smart with the puck, responsible in his own end, as we've said on a number of occasions. So, there are players there who certainly can give you a little juice for the bottom six for less money than what you're paying Cizikas, Martin, and Clutterbuck, and who can definitely get that job done and maybe do it a little bit more consistently. You still have Ross Johnston. He's on this roster for another couple of years. Don't know if he's a full-time NHLer, really. I think his role is his role, as we discussed, everydayers. We discussed that last week on the show when we focused on Ross Johnston's season. But realistically, I think that giving some of these kids a chance is a good thing. Now, there are other players like, who are forwards who would be more geared toward the top six. Ruslan Ishkov, William Dufour. These are players who are more offensive minded than bottom six minded. The problem is that they are all probably a year or two away. Unlike Arno Durando, who probably is, ready now. But, guys like Dufour and Ishkov and Matthew Maggio probably need another year of seasoning. I mean, Dufour played 1 year so far in Bridgeport. He's 21. He's a big guy, 6'2", 215. They usually need a little more time to develop. Ishkov, 22, 5'9", a buck 65, got off to a good start, slowed down over the course of the season, possibly because he got worn down a little by the physicality of the North American game. And look, I think Ishkov next year, he'll have a shot in training camp to make the roster, and he will get called up when injuries hit. Maggio, what he played, 2-3 games in the AHL. He's not ready. He'll need a year. And, these are players who could help, but unfortunately, the farm system is, for the most part, the guys are a year or two away from being ready. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of help coming from the farm system as of right now. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about Alexander Romanov, what his season was like. Did he meet expectations? And what we can expect from him in the future. We've got that and a lot more still to come on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun you'll have. Forget planning months in advance. Gametime has deals on tickets right up to the day of the event. Get exclusive flash deals on tickets for football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And the Gametime guarantee means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime will credit you 110% of the difference. So snag the tickets without the stress with Gametime. Just download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. So we continue our player-by-player look at the Islanders roster, and today we focus in on Alexander Romanov. Still only 23 years old, the native of Moscow, came to the Islanders at the draft in a trade last year with the Montreal Canadiens as Lou Lamoriello traded away yet another first-round pick for Romanov, but at least this time he traded a first-round pick for someone who is young and can be with the team for the foreseeable future. He has a cap hit right now of $2.5 million. He played in 76 games for the Islanders, 2 goals, 20 assists, a plus 13 plus-minus rating. And here's what you get from Alexander Romanov. You get physicality. He had 198 hits on the season. And you get someone who's not afraid to block shots. 129 blocked shots by Romanov. And when you start to add it up, he was second on the team in hits and second on the team in blocks. This is important. And the thing about Romanov, if you look at it, his offensive statistics do not jump out at you, and that's not why he's here. But defensively, he brings a lot to the table. And I'll sum up his importance in this way. He got hurt at the end of the regular season. Missed the first 2 games of the playoff series against the Carolina Hurricanes. In games that Alexander Romanov played, the Islanders were 2 wins, 2 losses. They lost both of the games. He missed, and keep in mind, he was not at 100% in that series. So, again, he was still able to be a factor and still was able to play 15, 17, and then in the final game, even 21 minutes, and gave the team physicality, had 11 hits in 4 games, had 8 block shots in 4 games. He brings something more to the table. Now, when you look back at Romanov's season, it was a tale of two seasons. In the first half of the year, he looked tentative at times, especially in his own zone. He took a few too many not so smart penalties, and he really didn't seem comfortable yet with his teammates and with the Islanders' system, which differed from the system he played at in Montreal, where he started his NHL career. And yet, as the season got into the second half, all of a sudden, the penalty minutes went down a bit. The physical play, he seemed to know when to go in there and use the body, was in the right place at the right time, stopped scrambling around, which he did a little bit more in the early half of the season. Overall, the Alexander Romanov the Islanders got in the second half of the year was the kind of guy who you sit there and say, you know what? This trade was actually worth it. And for Romanov, you look at the contract situation, and he signed a little, bridge deal last year. So he's got 2 more years on his contract at $2.5 million, and then he becomes a restricted free agent in 2025, 2026. You got to remember, defensemen, goalies, and power forwards tend to take a little bit longer to develop in the NHL and reach their prime than checking forwards who are not power forwards and goal scorers. Romanov is only 23. He's going to get better. And having him back next year, a left-handed shot, who's going to play even more minutes than the 19 and a half minutes roughly that he averaged per game. He was already a plus player, and maybe, just maybe, as he gets more comfortable with the Islanders system, he can give you a little bit more offensively. Look, he's never going to be Noah Dobson offensively or Dennis Potvin or, he's not that kind of a player. But can he give you 25 to 30 points as opposed to 20 to 25? Yeah, I think he can. And I think, his block shots were down slightly. His hits were down slightly from where he was a year ago in Montreal. Now, he played 3 fewer games. That may have something to do with it. But overall, I just think we have not seen the best of Alexander Romanov just yet. And to me, it is a very positive thing that he is here and he is going to be part of this team going forward. And, Alexander Romanov is not a burner on his skates. He's not super fast, but he's got good balance. He's usually in position, especially once he got comfortable again with the NHL game and with the Islanders system this year. And I think, he is still on the ascent and should be able to continue to develop and grow. And, as he enters his 4th NHL season, I think the best is yet to come for Alexander Romanov. So look for him, I think, to get a little more ice time. I think he's going to be in the top 4 and, be that defensive defenseman that allows a Sebastian Aho or a Noah Dobson or whoever the Islanders may acquire in, whether it's as a trade or as a free agent, that puck-moving defenseman we've talked about. Alexander Romanov can help that guy get it done by being responsible defensively. And so I think his value to the team will simply continue to increase. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We will have our Islanders birthday of the day and a little bit of news here. More news on the Lou Lamoriello front and a couple of other pieces of information about Alexander Romanov. So make sure you join us for that. Today's episode is brought to you by a product I literally use every day, AG1 by Athletic Greens. Maybe you're like me, you want to be healthy and eat well, but it's easier said than done. Well, that's no longer the case with AG1. With one delicious scoop of AG1, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All these things. And AG1 costs you less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So some news, and the news comes in trickles. Let's put it that way. But Alexander Romanov looks like he did undergo a little minor surgical procedure on his shoulder. Apparently, that is the injury he suffered. But the good news is Romanov should be ready to go for training camp. And that is definitely good news. I know on getaway day, Romanov indicated that maybe, he, was going to have to do a surgical procedure and maybe he wouldn't be ready for the start of training camp. But now it looks like that is good news. And so we're happy about that. Then Kevin Kurz of The Athletic reporting that it is likely that Lou Lamoriello will at least, get us some kind of word and break the silence that we've been waiting, to hear something. Here's what he tweeted regarding Lou. I know it's been business as usual since the season ended. He was conducting the player exit meetings per usual. Why there's been organizational silence since the season ended is unclear, but I expect him to chat with the media at some point in the nearish future. So again, we will wait to see what Lou Lamoriello does and when he does indeed speak to the media. Would not surprise me at all if he doesn't say very much once he does speak to the media, because let's face it, that is Lou being Lou. And to me, I would like a little more clarity as to the situation that this team is going to find itself in going forward with the general manager situation, with the coach. Look, if the reports by Andrew Gross and Kevin Kurz are accurate, and those two guys are as connected as anybody, so I don't anticipate them being wildly off here. If Lou is coming back and Lane is coming back, at least we should know it. And more than that, I would like to hear more about what Lou Lamoriello wants to do for this team in order to change, the situation where, he said for 2 years now, oh yeah, we need to add a puck moving defenseman and we need to add a sniper. What do you have in mind, Lou? I mean, I know we're not going to get a lot of specifics, but we should at least hear something from Lou Lamoriello, and it should happen sooner rather than later. And hopefully we'll get some news from them soon. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. And this one is a favorite of mine. Monday was the 69th birthday of former Islanders defenseman Dave Langevin. Langevin, originally drafted by the Islanders in the 7th round back in 1974, also drafted by the Edmonton Oilers, then of the WHA, in the 5th round of that same draft. Spent 4 years at the University of Minnesota Duluth, and then signed with the Oilers in 76-77. Spent 3 years in the WHA, but joined the Islanders after the WHA teams merged/expanded into the NHL, and was an Islander in 1979-80, was a member of all 4 Dynasty Stanley Cup winning teams, and the team that went to the Stanley Cup final in 1983-84. Stayed with the Islanders through the 84-85 season, then played with the Minnesota North Stars and the LA Kings before ending his career in at the end of the 1986-87 season. Played in 513 career NHL games, 216 more in the WHA, 12 goals, 119 points in the NHL, 530 penalty minutes, add 2 goals and 19 points in 87 playoff games. 82 of those were with the New York Islanders. And boy, the thing about Langevin in the NHL with the Islanders, never scored more than 4 goals, never had more than 21 points in a season. But at 6'2", 215, Langevin was a rock. And all the times you saw, Mike McEwen or Dennis Potvin taking a chance and moving the puck, they knew a guy like Dave Langevin was back there. Billy Smith and Chico Resch knew they could count on Dave Langevin to be a rock in their own zone, and he was not a player you want to mess with. One of his better games as an Islander, March 19th, 1983, at the Nassau Veterans Memorial Coliseum. Bring on Bob Froese in goal for the Philadelphia Flyers, Roland Melanson in goal for the Islanders, and for Dave Langevin, a 3-assist game. He was a +3, did not take a shot on goal. That wasn't his game, but the Islanders win it 9-2, and 3 assists for Dave Langevin, an unusually high offensive output, but boy, oh boy, was he a pillar on defense for the Islanders in their dynasty years. And I'm telling you, they don't win 4 straight Stanley Cups without the contributions of a Dave Langevin. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Want to thank everyone again for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today and every day. Every dayers. Tomorrow, we will go and look at the season of Semyon Varlamov. We'll talk about whether Varley met expectations, how he did, and what his future is with the franchise, if any. Remember, Varley is an unrestricted free agent this summer. We'll have that, plus any of the latest news concerning the Islanders. So make sure you join us for that. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. And of course, let's go Islanders.